Hi guys, I'm Ben and welcome to Motivation to Invest. Our mission is to motivate you to invest for your financial freedom. Whether that means escaping the 9-to-5 drudgery or just improving your quality of life, I'm here to help you by providing you with valuable investing tips and strategy. Reading is one of the greatest ways to compound knowledge and is wildly popular with some of the most successful people in history. From the world's greatest investor and billionaire Warren Buffett.
Read. I probably read 5 to 6 hours a day. I don't read as fast now as when I was younger, but I read 5 daily newspapers. I read a fair number of magazines. I read 10Ks. I read annual reports, and I read a lot of other things too. So I've always enjoyed reading.
To Bill Gates.
If you read enough, there's a similarity between things that make it easy because this thing is like this other thing.
And even Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Imagine you read 1 hour a day about history. How much you will learn after 365 hours.
Now, not everybody enjoys reading, and it can be quite difficult for some. However, if you can commit yourself to reading just a few pages, a few times a week or even daily, then the knowledge you will accumulate will be incredible. Now, many of the books that I speak about in this video are available in audio format and also as part of a video summary online. So you be sure to check that out if you're really against reading. The average CEO reads 52 books a year. Like, if you look at the habits of the most successful people, reading is one thing which they have in common. But it's also about reading the right thing, reading the right books. So in this video, I'm going to list my top 5 books for self-development and success. Without further ado, let's dive in. At number 1 is Awaken the Giant by Tony Robbins. Now, this is an incredible book and one that is truly life-changing. Now, regardless of your opinion of Tony Robbins, you need to give this book a chance. It covers so many different areas which you'll just be astonished. Like, it literally resets your life. The main premise of the book is to unlock your true power by removing self-limiting beliefs and certain negative, disempowering emotional attachments to situations. So, for example, someone might have a negative emotional attachment to, say, going to the gym. Therefore, as the mind seeks pain and pleasure, it will avoid the gym. When logically you know that you should be going to the gym and you should be keeping healthy. The idea is to reset that pain and pleasure connection so you can associate pleasure with things which you know you need to do and which are going to help you to move towards your goals, and you associate pain with things which you know are negative and unhealthy or just toxic for you, your mind, your body, or your soul. So many people tend to self-sabotage themselves before the world stops them. Usually the thing that is holding most people back is that little voice in their head. The little voice that says, you can't do that. You can't get that promotion. You can't get that relationship. You can't do this. You can't achieve the next level. And having that negativity, that can't mindset, will hold you back in a personal situation. Because if there's any goal you want to achieve and you have that voice holding you back, you won't even try. You will not even try. So this book is really about setting your goals, setting your vision, and then literally rewiring your brain to associate pain and pleasure with what you need to do to succeed. So in the book, he also speaks about certain neural highways or roads which we have between the pain and pleasure and the specific situations. So if someone's a very cynical, a very sad person, they feel sad, they constantly keep reinforcing that message into their mind. Oh, I'm sad, I'm depressed. Like, if they're constantly looking at the negatives, the mind will focus on the negatives. Thus, they have a highway to sadness in terms of neural brain connections, but they have a dirt road to happiness. So they wonder why they're not happy. They're not constantly reinforcing that positivity daily, which is what needs to be done to be in a constant state of euphoria, and also to be able to change your emotional state quick. Because everyone gets angry, everyone gets sad, everyone has these moments, but it's how long do you stay in that state for? Like, that's what depression is. Depression is someone staying in that state for a very long and prolonged period of time. Whereas if you can change your emotional state fast, then you know you're angry for a second and you can just change it. And you can change it. And there's even in the book, there's even a 14-day challenge, which I tried, and it honestly works wonders, where basically you've got to challenge yourself to not think a negative thought for longer than 10 seconds over the next, say, 14 days. So as soon as something negative comes into your mind, or something disempowering, which you know you cannot control, like say for example it's a cloudy day and you want to moan about the weather, instead when that comes into your mind, be grateful. Think of gratitude. So that's an emotional state changer. So rather than reinforcing that negativity, you change your emotional state. So you say, okay, I'm grateful. I'm grateful for my health. I'm grateful for my family. I'm grateful to be alive. I opened the 2 best gifts this morning and they were my eyes. That sort of reinforcing mindset of that positivity can really, really help you along the way. Now, there's a great quote which summarizes this book. Those who think they can and those who think they can't are both usually right. That quote's by Henry Ford, who created the first ever production motor vehicle. So this book is split into 5 parts: emotional mastery, physical mastery, relationship mastery, financial mastery, and time mastery. The idea behind it is really to define and achieve in all those different areas. And it starts with, of course, controlling your emotional reactions to situations. And then obviously it goes on to using that in a physical sense, using that in relationships, using that to grow your finances and grow your wealth, and then using that also to manage your time. So the power is all in our minds, and it's pretty obvious when you read this book. Now, the next book on my list is Say What You Mean and Get What You Want by George R. Wolfer. And this is more of a practical book. So following on from the Awaken the Giant, this is more practical steps to use with your specific words and phrases daily in order to create a more empowering and confident self. So it talks about basically various phrases which we use which disempower us, and it gives you alternative phrases which are obviously more empowering, and thus speaking the language of success can help you to become successful. And you do notice it when you try these methods and tactics and you think, okay, let me just try this, and you try it for a few days and you realize, actually, yeah, I do feel more confident, I do feel more optimistic, I do feel more definite about my life and my situation and my goals. So yeah, it's really interesting. An example would be, for example, some people say, oh, I'm really bad at maths. And then they're automatically creating a self-fulfilling prophecy in their mind, which they are really bad at maths. And they're constantly reinforcing this. Instead of using that phrase, I'm bad at maths, I'm really bad at maths, or I've never been good at maths, instead you say, I'm getting better. I'm learning maths. I'm improving my math skills daily. And to the brain, that's more of an optimistic outlook on the situation. So you're not saying, oh, I'm really bad at maths. You say, oh, I'm improving that daily. That's one of the areas I'm improving on. It also works with a phrase such as, someone might say, oh, I hate reading. Now, if they're saying to themselves they hate reading, they're creating another self-fulfilling prophecy of pain. Thus, when they do try and read, if they need to read something to help them in their lives, they won't be able to, because they'll feel pain. And they'll say, I hate reading, I hate reading, I hate reading. And they'll feel like they hate it. Whereas what they need to do is even just trick their brain and tell themselves they love it. Like, I love it. I love this and I love that. Look at the aspects which you enjoy about a situation which you need to do in order to create that positive connection. And then, once your mind links pleasure to that situation, then your brain and your body will automatically move towards that situation, because you'll want to do it more and more and more and more. It's a little bit like creating a positive addiction. So people on drugs and in certain situations, they keep going back to get their fix because their brain has created a positive, pleasurable attachment between that fix, and obviously it releases endorphins in the brain. So that's a positive connection created, and the more they do it, the stronger the bond and the harder it is to break that, and that's called addiction. So really what you're trying to do is you're trying to create positive addictions to things which are going to help you and motivate you in your lives. So with this book, it's more about providing you with the phrases necessary to help feel more empowered and more positive as you go about your day. Now the next book on my list is Influence by Robert B. Cialdini. Now this is definitely one of my favourite books which you have to read. It's quite short, so it's not like the other ones which are pretty big and bulky. This one you can get through pretty fast, but the lessons inside are really, really valuable. So it talks about basically the psychology of the human mind and how we are all controlled and influenced by the various marketing and sales tactics used in various industries. So the guy in the book, he goes undercover on a variety of sales training courses at a variety of companies to learn what tactics and methods they use to get us, the consumer, to buy things. So you can understand these actions which are used and implement them in situations which you want to obviously move in your favor. You can also use it for if you want to do any sales, any marketing, and you can also use it as a defense against certain marketing and tactics and methods, because you know the tactic they're using, so you'll be less likely to fall for it. People are marketing boardrooms sitting there thinking, okay, how can we control people? And how can we influence people? So this book distills all those facts and figures from various companies of how they do it and their methods and strategies into one book. So it talks about social proof, the fact that we'll do things if we see other people doing it, even though we might not necessarily believe it's the right thing to do. For example, say we're crossing the road and we'll be standing there on the road and one person will start walking or two people start walking, and then we all follow like sheep, even though the light's not green, it's not time to cross, but we'll all just follow. That's social proof. And we'll tend to do it more if the person crossing is either someone who is like us or someone who is like we'd like to be. So if it's someone of, say, you potentially believe they might be higher status or intelligent, then you'll be more likely to follow them. Another aspect covered in the book was a tactic used by the #1 salesman for Chrysler in the USA. So the tactic he used was basically called throwing a low ball. So what he'd do, he'd put a lower price on a car initially to get the person in. And then once the person was engaged in conversation and interested, he'd then do a really nice gesture. And people like people that do nice things to them, which is pretty obvious really. So he'd say to the person, right, I don't usually do this, but you can take the car for 1 day, 2 days, take it, show it your friends, show it your family, have a big test drive, just go for it. So they'd go to fill out a lot of paperwork before, obviously, for the insurance, etc. And even the act of filling out paperwork is another psychological cue. So people associate more value to things which require more effort. Now, I'll say that again. People associate more value to things which require more effort. So if something is easy to obtain, even though it might be valuable, people just associate less value with it. Whereas if someone has worked hard for something, they'll tend to appreciate the value of it more. And it makes sense. Like if you look at lottery winners, they get it just like that. And then many of them just spend it just like that because they never felt that pressure and that work and had to put that energy into actually achieving it. It was just bang, easy come, easy go. So after the paperwork's been filled out, the prospect will take the car, he'll go off, he'll show it to his friends, to his family, to his work, show him his brand new Chrysler, look at my car, look at my car, look at my car. And the idea behind this is the fact that he's taking it and showing it all these people, he wants to create consistency. So another psychological cue which is in this book is people have a need to be consistent with the character which they are trying to be. So I'll say that again. People have a need to be consistent with the character with which they believe they are trying to be. So people try to be consistent with their identity, even if it's a new identity which someone has pushed on them. So this person who's took the car for a test drive, if he's took it, showed it to his friends, showed it to his family, he now feels the need subconsciously to create a consistent, like I'm a Chrysler driver now, that like I need to be consistent with that identity. So therefore, and obviously he needs to be consistent in front of everyone, in front of his friends, family and work. So the fact that he's trying to be consistent with this identity will make him create more reasons for buying the car, for liking to buy the car. Oh, well, there's this I like, and there's this I like, and there's this I like. So when he comes back to the showroom, and he's obviously really interested in the car, and he's asking, and it's obviously very, very cheap, like it's better priced than anywhere else, and obviously all the other factors which he's now built up in his mind. But then the salesperson comes around, and he says, oh, sorry, there's been an error. That price I told you before was without the air conditioning. So the prospect, he's obviously a little bit disappointed, but by this time, he's now built up all these other reasons. All his friends, all his family, they all believe that this is his new car and he's a Chrysler driver and he's got this new identity now. So for him to keep that identity, he needs to purchase the car. And this tactic was used by this Chrysler salesman, and he became the #1 salesperson in the USA. So it definitely works. On the moral side of things, it's not that moral to do that, but it's interesting to know these tactics. So you're assured how they are used, and obviously if you wish to use them, you can, and also if you wish to be aware of other people using them on you is also very important. Another psychological cue which was stated in this book was just people like compliments, and people like people that like us. So if someone likes you, you like them because they like you. It's very, very simple, but it can often be forgotten in day-to-day life. So this salesman who was the #1 for Chrysler in the USA, he used to send a personalized message to every single one of his previous customers. Now, people don't just like any compliments. People like compliments which are personal to them. So the more personal, the more genuine the compliment is. So it's not just, oh, you're beautiful. It's, this is beautiful about you. This specific thing about you is beautiful. So he did this, sent it to all his customers, and he basically said, oh, thanks for your, like on their birthday, on Christmas, great to meet you, hope your car's going well, just general chat. But at the end, he always said specifically, I like you. And really, it's so obvious and so blatant that he just said, I like you. But it worked. And those customers referred him as the salesperson to friends, and they also came back for exchanges, purchased new cars, and yeah, the facts are the facts. #1 salesperson in the USA for many, many years. #2 on my list is The 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss. Now, this is a really interesting one, which will also change your mindset on working and on productivity. So this is quite a practical book, and it gives you insight into the fact that you can work 4 hours a week, 7 hours a week, and still get more done or the same amount done as someone that works 40 hours a week. So the idea in this book is he works 4 hours a week and he earns about £50,000 a month or $50,000 a month. And it shows basically various methods and tactics which he uses in order to achieve that. So it covers everything from negotiating with your boss so you can work remotely. Because then if you can work remotely, it allows you to be more in control of your time, and thus you can implement various techniques and tactics to improve your productivity. So you might have heard of the 80-20 rule. 80% of our value which we get from certain situations, is achieved by 20% of our actions. I was skeptical of this theory previously, but looking at certain situations, you can see it's just very, very common. For example, if you look at physical exercise in the gym, 80% of my probably physical results would be achieved by probably 2 workouts. For example, leg day, where I'll be doing squats, which is obviously working your largest muscle groups, and then back day, which I'll be doing deadlifts, which I'm working almost every muscle group, including obviously my back. So that will be producing probably 80% of my physical results. You also see it in sales offices. So say, for example, someone's in sales and they view the various channels which they're getting their leads from. So they might have Instagram, Facebook, email, phone, and they look at the various channels. And what they might find is they might be spending equal amount of time on each channel. However, they're getting 80% of their clients through Instagram. So really, if they understand that wait a minute, we're spending 5 days, we're spending 1 day in each platform, but we're getting 80% of our customers through Instagram. So if they instead just quadruple down on Instagram and even just completely just ignore the others, or even really just scale them down, then they'll find the results increase massively, and thus they can accomplish more of a certain task in a short space of time. So if they're doing 2 days fully on Instagram advertising, they will get more leads than if they were doing 5 days on Instagram, Facebook, email, phone, trying everything, because they've understood the 80-20 rule for their specific situation. So it's real powerful stuff. He also talks about batching emails. So instead of wasting time checking your email 2, 3, 4 times a day, you should only check it potentially once a day or even just once a week, and schedule out any unnecessary questions which people may ask you, have automated responses set up. He also speaks about outsourcing, so how you can outsource using websites such as Fiverr, where you can basically pay someone in India to do admin work for you, to do graphic design for you, do web design for you at very, very low prices. So the idea behind the book is basically it's not to make you a millionaire, it's to outsource a lot of your work, become more productive, and thus you have time and money, which is true wealth in any sense. So yeah, interesting read there. 4-Hour Workweek, Tim Ferriss. Now the next book on my list, I don't actually have it here, it's at my other place, but it's called How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. You've probably heard of this book. It's an iconic bestseller. I think sold 30 million copies worldwide, so it's a great iconic book. Even the greatest investor of all time, Warren Buffett, states he spent a few $100s on a Dale Carnegie course on communication, and it was the best investment he ever made. So the author's definitely credible. Despite the book being published back in 1936, the theories and the actions in the book are still relevant today, and they'll still be relevant in 100 years. Because it's basically about getting people to like you in order to get what you want. And that is the main premise in the book. So it's about not creating conflict, but creating good relations in order to get what you want out of that situation. Someone will always have something that you need, or you need help from them in a certain way. And you've got to know how to build a good relationship with them so they will help you. And then, of course, you can do that by reciprocating value to them. But it also talks about just various methods, which they're very, very simple, but they definitely work. For example, one is the law of reciprocity. So this basically means that if someone gives something to us, we do feel an inner need to give something back to them. It's just inbuilt in us. Like, not everyone does it, but it's inbuilt in a lot of people. For example, they did a study. In this restaurant, they had 5 tables. 5 tables, the customers were left a free mint. 5 tables, they were left no mint. The tables where they left a mint, the waiters and waitresses on that table were given higher tips. Whereas on the one without the mint, they were given less tips. So the tips weren't proportional to the cost of a mint, because the mints aren't expensive. But for example, if someone was going to give a $5 tip on this table, which is not, they've not given the mint, they might give $15 on this other table. So it's a substantial difference. So that's the power of reciprocity. So another concept in the book basically just talks about how the best way to win an argument is to not have an argument at all, and the fact that you should not tell people they're wrong. Instead, you should ask them questions to make them realize that they might be wrong in a situation, make them question themselves. So one of the examples in the book was, there was two people that they basically chopped wood. They were wood choppers. And person A, he chopped pine. Person B chopped oak. Now, person B, who had the oak, he bought some pine off person A. When he got the pine, he made various complaints saying it wasn't up to his certain standard. Now, the person with the pine understood that the oak wood chopper was wrong, because he knew that he didn't actually understand the way of evaluating pine is different to oak. However, rather than telling him he was wrong, because if you tell someone they're wrong, they'll just become defensive. Their pride will be hurt, they'll become defensive, and then they won't like you for telling them that they're wrong. So it's not going to create good relations, which is not going to solve the situation. So what you do is, he basically said to him, well, what specific standard were you after, so then I can make sure I give you the right thing next time? And after further evaluating himself, the oak wood chopper realizes that, oh, actually, I am wrong, and the other person is right, and he actually apologizes to the pine chopper and says, no, this wood's fine, actually, thank you. Sorry about that. So by using this method, instead of just saying you're wrong, da-da-da-da-da, he's actually built good relations with the other person, and the other person still realised they've actually wrong in that situation. So it's very, very powerful, because if you argue with someone, if you win the argument, you're going to feel a short sense of pride and a short sense of happiness that you've won this victory, but it's short-lived. The other person is going to feel down, they're going to feel a bit beaten, and they're going to not like you for really putting them down like that. So the point in the book is that there are no real winners in an argument. Another point in the book also speaks about asking questions rather than having demands. So no one likes being demanded upon. So if you say to someone, put that bin out, or do this or do that, they'll automatically be defensive and won't want to do it. However, if you instead speak to them and say, would you like to do this? Or would you like to do that? Or what do you think this would help us? Or do you think this would help you? And you ask them a question, they don't feel as put upon, and thus they're more likely to do what you want them to do. So it's quite smart and it's quite clever, but it basically understands the fact that people have a big ego, and if you threaten someone's ego, they'll do anything to protect it. Another point in the book is about remembering names. So they say one of the greatest sounds people can hear is that of their own name. So this tactic is, when I first read about this tactic, I thought, wow, like, I'm surprised people's egos are so sensitive to this, but it's just true. So it's been used in business a lot. And an example of this was there was a business deal that was, I think it was in Texas, and they wanted rights to build a certain oil well in a certain area. And they were really trying to get these rights to build for a long period of time, and they just couldn't do it. And they were trying with the mayor and the government of the state to just basically try and get this approval, this planning approval for them to build the oil rig. So in the end, they thought of a clever tactic. So let's say the mayor was named John Hancock. When John Hancock said to the oil company, well, what do you plan to call this oil rig? The oil company comes back and says, well, of course, we plan to call it the John Hancock Oil Production Company. Immediately, the mayor's ego felt a real boost. And he obviously really liked the other person and the oil company. And thus, approved the planning permission for the build. Now, this has been used various times in history, from naming trains to various other aspects in terms of getting approval on certain things or just building that relationship through the power of names. Another point in the book talks about speaking in terms of the other person's interests. So people are always tuned into WIIFM, which means what's in it for me, FM. Now, if you speak in terms of what you want, they'll just keep asking the question, well, what's in it for me, what's in it for me, what's in it for me? So if you speak in terms of what they want and how it will benefit them, then you're more likely to get what you want. So that's why really, if you want anyone to do something for you, you need to really understand what drives them, understand their values, understand their drive, understand what they want. Once you know what they want, you can then speak in those terms in order to get them to do what you want to do. So it's really powerful stuff, and it definitely does work. So that's the list. Now, Warren Buffett says, investing in yourself is one of the greatest investments you can make. So even just reading the 5 books I mentioned previously will definitely compound your knowledge and be a great investment into yourself. You can also find free audio versions of these books. Just go onto YouTube and search the book's name and audiobook. And what you'll do is you'll find it'll come up with a free audio, and you can just listen to the book. If that's more your thing, rather than actual reading, you can still get that knowledge in a different way. You can also binge watch investing videos on this channel to really build up that knowledge and those practical investing skills. I would love to know your thoughts on the books mentioned previously. If you've read them, what you think of them, and also any other books which you recommend on self-improvement and success. And if you enjoyed this video, go ahead, smash that like button, and definitely subscribe. See you next time.